Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our Tuesday evening meeting of the Golden Speakers Toastmasters Club. It's now my pleasure to introduce our president, Jean Symington Craig.
If we were on a boat, this boat would be like this right now. Is there something about this side of the room that is, we got Lewis there. Lewis is gonna sit there, we got Rick there.
Got the rudder.
Will is here. Okay, good. Was starting to list, just watching it. Great. Okay. Welcome to Toastmasters, Golden Speakers Toastmasters. We meet every Tuesday in the Hy-Vee Community Room at the west side of the store, starting at 7:45, going till 9:15. We love having guests. Looks like we have a guest tonight. The mission of a Toastmasters Club is to provide a mutually supportive and positive learning environment in which every member has the opportunity to develop oral communication and leadership skills, which in turn foster self-confidence and personal growth. So let's hear it for the mission of our Toastmasters. Thank you. We do have a guest here tonight. And would you just stand and tell us your name and what brought you to Toastmasters tonight?
Hi everyone, I'm Pia. I'm here because I'm doing AmeriCorps this year and I'm about a month in and I realized that presentation skills are really important, so I thought I'd check this out.
Great, and how did you hear about Toastmasters?
Well, I heard about it a long time ago, but then Tabitha mentioned that she does it and so I got, I'll jump on them. So.
Great, so Tabitha did this. I mean, not this literally. Because Pia might have thought that was a little strange. But this is talking about Toastmasters, so thank you. I mean, it was really great and glad to have you here. We hope we have a good meeting for you tonight, which we always do, actually. So very good. So I'm glad Jyoti Raj is up because I was just going to ask you guys in the back who are not to fill in up in here because it's just cozier and then we don't go up the middle. We don't go up the middle. So yeah, perfect. Or you can come around. Here we go. Does everyone know about this not coming up the middle? Just to remind everybody, this is the zone. There is a man that is in the middle of this zone who's our cameraman and he will get snarky.
It turns out that if you walk down the aisle, there's a certain angle on you that is not always flattering.
And you cut everything off and it's just startling. So that's why we walk around the sides. All right, I think we're just about ready to start. Officers had a very good meeting today. Your club officers are busily at work. We have plans. But let's go ahead and get our meeting started right now. At this time, I would like to introduce our Toastmaster, who is me. I was seeing a blank here and I was going, oh no, I don't know what. And I went, oh, it's me. First, we're going to go ahead and introduce our role players for tonight, starting with our timer, Emery Styron, who will tell us what he will be doing tonight.
I will be timing your speeches as follows. Table topics are 1 to 2 minute speeches. The green light is turned on at 1 minute. The yellow light is turned on at 1 minute 30 seconds. I'll have to learn how. Quite right at it now. And the red light is turned on at 2 minutes and remains on until the end of the speech. I will figure it out. Prepared speeches are usually 5 to 7 minutes, icebreakers 4 to 6 minutes. Some other speeches are longer. Green light at 5, yellow light at 6, red light at 7. Evaluations are 3 minutes. Green light is turned on at 2 minutes. The yellow light is turned on at 2.5 minutes. The red light is turned on at 3 minutes. Thank you. I'll give a report at the end of the meeting.
Thank you. Our next role player is our grammarian. Our grammarian for the evening is Tabitha Sedgwick.
Good evening. So being grammarian is an exercise in expanding listening skills. And my first responsibility is to introduce our word of the day, which is alacrity. A quick and cheerful readiness to do something. Or you can use alacritous as the adjective version. And in a sentence, she took on the role of grammarian with alacrity. My second responsibility will be to comment on the use of English, which I'll give a report at the end during evaluation.
Great. Alacritous. That is a great sounding word, isn't it? I am going to be alacritous in using it immediately, enthusiastically. Our next role player is our odd counter. Filling in tonight is Art Atkinson.
The odd counter's role that I'll be filling is the complement to Tabitha's role as a grammarian. My job is to listen for those, what we call filler words, and so, but, or any unique one that you have come up with and gotten habituated to. So listen for those, to record them on this tally sheet, and to give a brief report at the end, which ones were used and how much.
Pleased right now at the level of clapping that this group is doing. I just want to say, somehow this is held over and people are smiling when they're clapping. It's making me feel really good. So it works. That style of clapping is good. It's fun too. Look at Louis. He's just having a time over there. All right. We will hear from our general evaluator, Ryan Cronenmiller, later in the meeting, and we will also be enjoying a joke from our joke master. It's also going to be Art Atkinson, and who was greeting us. I think we had kind of a cluster greeting going on at the front door, which is always nice. When you're Toastmaster members, even if you're not the greeter, it's just nice to be there and say hello to people as they come in. That was really well done. Our first speech. We're going to enter into the prepared speeches now, and this is always very intriguing and enjoyable. Our first speaker is going to be Orlando Arocha. His evaluator is Louis Denbaum, and let's warmly welcome Louis while he reads the objectives.
Club members, guests, viewers at home. Tonight, Orlando is giving speech number 4 from the Competent Communicator Manual. First, let me tell you a little bit about him. Orlando has worked for more than 25 years in the software industry. He has led many projects during his career, some of which had impossible deadlines. But with enthusiasm and optimism, he was able to satisfy his customers with the end product. Project 4 in the Competent Communicator Manual is how to say it. His objectives are to select the right words and sentence structure to communicate his ideas clearly, accurately, and vividly, to use rhetorical devices to enhance and emphasize ideas, and to eliminate jargon and unnecessary words use correct grammar. The title of his speech is Understanding Pessimism and How to Overcome It. And I'm optimistic that he'll give a very good speech. So with alacrity, please welcome Orlando.
I'm a Toastmaster, club members and guests and people at home. Let's start this with a little experiment. Please close your eyes for a moment. Imagine a glass of water. Fill exactly at the middle. Now, open your eyes and let me know if you imagine that glass half full or half empty. Please use your hands to half empty, and if you think it was half full, please stand up. Whoa, we got a lot of optimists here. Yeah, people think that if you see the glass half full, it's that you are optimistic, and if you see it half empty, you are a pessimist. Let's put this for a while here at the border of the table. Hope I don't spill it during the speech. I just thought I may be able to spill this. I'm trying to be cautious, or maybe I'm pessimistic. But I'm not going to drown about this glass of water. Let's see why we are pessimistic. Maybe there must be somebody that is responsible for this. Maybe the government. Yeah, they always try to make people. You can see in the government that they cannot agree to anything, and if they manage to agree to something, it's generally it's not good for the rest of us. So, but maybe they are not responsible. Maybe we can blame our education, because history told us that all the mistakes that people have made, and you're afraid to make them also. Or could it be somebody closer to us, like our own family? Because they were too cautious, and they were always telling us what to do, what not to do. Like study, because you need to a good career in your life, or don't put the glass of water in the border, it may fall. Yeah, could be, but we, I cannot put the blame in somebody especially. I think it's part of our nature. It's nature tells us to evaluate every possibility that comes in front of us, and we have to evaluate when these possibilities are good or they may harm us, and so we always have to do these evaluations. But some people concentrate in the bad part. Like, for example, I think I'm optimistic, but I'm not foolish to go and cross the street without looking for both sides. But because I think I will never have an accident crossing the street, but it may happen. So I'm trying to be cautious. So, but the people that are pessimistic, they don't think like that. They try things once, and if they fail, they stop trying. And that situation may be very bad for a person, and especially they could get depressed because they lose hope. And that's very bad. So how a pessimistic person can overcome this situation? First, they have to start to try things for themselves. They have to try to do anything. Like if somebody tells me, that glass is too heavy, I cannot lift it up from the table, then if I were pessimistic, maybe I would say, okay, I won't try it. But why not? Just try it. Maybe I can lift it. Maybe I cannot. But if I never try, I will never know. And if I failed the first time, I could research and see if other people have done it, and also learn how they did it and try it by myself. So that would help me. After that, if I still fail, I have to try again. You know, if I don't try, if I stop trying, then I will never succeed. Pessimists have to understand that success is not just a one thing that they reach. Everybody gets successful on the first try. No, success is a road of errors and trial and mistakes, and keep trying until people faces a lot of problems, and but successful people always keep trying until they reach their goal. Now, how to another thing that a person has to do is to set goals for themselves, and goals that are reachable. I'm not saying that don't think about impossible goals. If we put a man in the moon, so there are possibilities of doing anything. The thing is that we have to divide those goals in small steps and try to do one at a time. Keep working only a day at a time. Don't try to solve problems of tomorrow today. So take one little task, try to do it, and try to be happy with it. Now, let's see, the glass is still there. Now I can enjoy the water. Thank you.
Mr. Timer, would you please time 2 minutes so we can give an evaluation?
Okay.
Time. And by the way, it helps our speakers if you put your name on the evaluation somewhere, shape or form, so that if they have any questions, they can touch base with you. It's just a nice touch, and we're all friends here. So, our next speaker is going to be the illustrious Rick Starr, who volunteers with alacrity with anything having to do with Toastmasters at all levels. Quite a star, no pun intended, actually a little bit. His evaluator is going to be Will Burns, and I just want to mention that Rick Starr, this will be his final speech completing his Competent Communicator Manual again. This is his second manual that he's completed. He's doing this so that the club gets the appropriate credit for the Distinguished Club Program, and of course it helps him continue to work on those foundational skills that we all can work on really for the rest of our lives. It's always something that we're improving. So congratulations to Rick on that. We'll give him a big round of applause a little later, but let's go ahead and welcome up Will Burns, his evaluator.
Thank you, Jean. Rick has been a member of Toastmasters and the Golden Speakers Club since 2013. Rick is also a member of the Cambridge Techmasters Corporate Club here in Fairfield, Iowa, or in the outskirts. Rick has completed the speeches in the Copy Communicator Manual and has also completed several of the advanced speaker manuals. And now, as Jean alluded to, in order to continue to develop different aspects of his speaking skills, Rick will once again be giving speeches from the Copy Communication Manual, this being the final one. He is doing research or topic. The objectives of this project are to collect information about his topic from multiple sources and to carefully support those points and opinions with specific facts, examples, and illustrations through research. The title of his speech is, Where Are the Clowns? It is 5 to 7 minutes. Please warmly welcome Rick Starr.
Thank you for that kind introduction, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Golden speakers, honored guests, thank you for coming, and viewers at home. Where are the clowns? Where are the clowns? When I was growing up, clowns were delightful, funny, they were everywhere. But where are they today? So today I'd like to talk about 3 things with you. 1, a fear of clowns. Some people are afraid of them. The second thing is how the media has transformed clowns from lovable creatures to these scary, creepy things. And the third is the disappearance of the home of all clowns, the circus. There's an episode of Seinfeld, some of you may remember Seinfeld, titled The Opera. And as usual with Seinfeld plots, there's a million things going on at once, but they get tickets to the opera, and Kramer gets confronted by a clown who's in the opera. Then Kramer reveals that he's still afraid of clowns. And there's a word for this, coulrophobia. Coulrophobia. It means fear of clowns. If you look up on WebMD, which is an authoritative medical site on the internet, you define phobia as a fear of being in contact with an event or a person or circumstances to the point where you do almost anything to avoid this. And this is different than normal fear, just normal nervousness. The World Health Organization, funnily enough, doesn't have this in its International Disease Center. And the American Psychiatric Association doesn't list this as a formal phobia. But it's real. It said 10 to 20% of all people have this fear of clowns. It's easy to imagine these clowns have weird faces and they do weird things sometimes. And over time, the media has transformed clowns from happy, joyful creatures to creatures. Think of things like that clown on Simpsons, like Homie the Clown from In Living Color. And it gets a little weird. And then they talk, and then you see the horror movies. I don't want to get into it, but there's actual horror movies about clowns. And this can give the heebie-jeebies to any little kid. So it's not surprising that kids grow up afraid of clowns. When I grew up, clowns were fun. There was the Howdy Doody show. It's Howdy Doody time. It's Howdy Doody time. Let's give a rousing cheer, 'cause Howdy Doody's here, with Clarabelle in it. And there was Bozo the Clown. And there was comedians had clowns in their repertoire. Clem Cadiddlehopper, Red Skelton used that character. But over time, as I mentioned before, these clowns have been transformed into more serious, more villainous creatures. And it could be something to be afraid of. Circus, the father of the modern circus, was a man you've probably heard of named P.T. Barnum. P.T. Barnum started out in the middle of the 18th century, and he started out with museums, what he called museums, but were kind of freak shows. Any kind of strange creatures or even things that weren't real that he made up, he would show in these freak shows. And sometimes he'd take him on a tour. In the middle of the 18th century, he took Tiny Tim, a very small man from England, on a tour around the United States, and it was very popular. And this eventually led to the circus. Everyone's heard of P.T. Barnum, Barnum and Bailey, the Ringling Brothers Circus, the greatest show on earth. And eventually, over time, the circus evolved into three general types of acts. There were animal acts, lion tamers, elephants, horses. There were human acts like acrobats and trapeze artists. And then there was the sideshow, where they had all kinds of freaks of nature they were called at the time. And this was the structure of the circus, and over time circuses became havens for clowns. We all remember seeing, or at least hearing of, a little tiny car stopping and all the clowns immediately exiting, dozens and dozens of clowns from that. What killed the circus was 3 or 4 things. There was the cost of doing the circus. It was a huge thing. It traveled from town to town, very expensive to do that. It's also people's changing entertainment habits. TV and movies became more popular. And then there was our attitude towards what were called freaks, who were people with, in some cases, disabilities that wasn't looked on anymore. And there also the treatment of animals. And nowadays, because of all these pressures, circuses have changed. Circuses have become much more like Cirque du Soleil, where it's only humans and they do acrobatic tricks. In fact, I don't know how many have seen Cirque du Soleil, but it's just amazing what they do. And so all the bad things about clowns have been done away with. Clowns are no longer scary except in horror movies. The bad things about circuses have been done away with. And now we have these, in Cirque du Soleil, acrobats and clowns really epitomize what a clown should be. So clowns haven't gone away. Clowns have been transformed from something sort of freakish to something really wonderful today.
Timer, would you please give us 2 minutes to evaluate? All right, well, we've had pessimism and we've had clowns. I think somehow that can come together or help balance each other out or something, so it's never a dull moment. Mr. Timer, which of our speakers qualified tonight?
They both qualified.
Both qualified, all right. So at this time, we can vote for our speaker, best speaker, Rick or Orlando. All right, while we're picking up votes, is someone doing that for us tonight? Is Art doing that? Art's got the vote screen. At this point, we'd like to enter our evaluation section, and for that, I'm going to call up our general evaluator for the evening, Ryan Prana-Miller.
For tonight's evaluation section, our speeches are over, so now we're going to get into the the table topics, but before we get into table topics, I would like to introduce Louis Denbaum, who will be evaluating Orlando's speech. And that's it. Please welcome Louis Denbaum.
Thank you, Mr. General Manager. Club members, guests, viewers at home, and especially Orlando. Orlando's task was to give us a speech and use rhetorical devices, avoid jargon, use short words, use short sentences. I'm going to use the manual. Was his speech appropriate for this particular assignment? Yes. I think most speeches would be appropriate. He chose a good one. Did the speaker use simple, short, clear words? Definitely. Did he use words that had more than one meaning? No. So, part of the speech, how to say it, you want to avoid words that have double meaning because then it confuses the speakers, or jargon, words that people aren't familiar with. So he did a good job there. Did the speaker use rhetorical devices to enhance his or her ideas? Here's where I think Orlando could have improved this speech, because this was a central part of the project. Rhetorical devices mentioned in the manual are triads, alliteration, similes, and metaphors. And I was listening and I didn't really hear those. So for example, you were using a discussion around trying to overcome things, so you could have said, fail faster. That's an alliteration, fail faster. A triad could have been try, and try again. So you've got the three. Okay? So those are things I'd like to see you incorporate into this type of speech. The purpose of the speech was clear. You told us you were going to talk about pessimism and how to overcome it. You did that. You gave us a way, many ways to get over pessimism, so I like that. And it was effectively organized. What did I like about the speech? I like the fact that you had us close our eyes and do a visualization right at the beginning. You had us think of the glass, and then you asked us a question, and then you had us stand up. So you got the audience involved right off the bat, which is an excellent way to draw people in and get us engaged in your speech. That was fantastic. I like the fact that you had the glass of water as a prop. And furthermore, what I liked about the prop was you left it here, right in the front. And then you came back to it several other times. So the prop had multiple purposes. That was an excellent idea that you had for that. And let's see. What could have improved the speech? I've already mentioned that you could have used the rhetorical devices, and I have an unfair advantage here. We had a discussion before and you told me you didn't really start practicing until earlier today. So what could have improved it? Practice a heck of a lot earlier. Thank you very much.
Number two, we have the second prepared speech tonight is by Orlando by, what's the second? Rick. Thank you. Rick is the second speaker, and evaluating Rick is the eminent and alacrious
Will Barnes.
Will Barnes, thank you.
time to actually finish my evaluation here. So Rick's speech tonight was to research his topic. I'm going to go down the points here in the evaluation guide, and then I'll add a little bit of my points at the end, the title, what I liked about the speech. How well did the speaker's topic apply to the audience? Well, if you're like me, I think that everybody in the audience had some connection or history. Those of us may remember the Golden Age, some of us might have a fear, from maybe reading a Stephen King novel or something. So I think everybody had some experience with clowns. Was the topic well researched? I said that yes, the speaker researched the topic to the level of the speech. He didn't throw a lot of facts and figures at us. I think that was actually a good thing for this speech, because I think this speech was researched, but it really hit home on an emotional level for me. How well did the speaker support his or her main points? I feel like he supported them fairly well. They flowed really well throughout the speech. But then the next question is, was the support material appropriate for the point made? And I felt like it was. And I'll kind of throw in one thing here. What was the support material that we heard? I actually had to go back and look here to kind of look at the different types of materials as defined by Toastmasters, because I'm used to books, I'm used to PowerPoint, I'm used to these kind of things. But you also can use stories or anecdotes, and that is what Rick did. He came over here and he basically he performed a short segment of the Howdy Doody show. And I felt like that was actually effective because it drew in younger audience members like myself. We never saw the Howdy Doody show, and it kind of gave me some idea of the Golden Age. How clear was the speaker's purpose? I feel that the purpose became clearer as the speech went on. At first I thought it was about the clowns are here and then they're gone. Over time, I came to realize that it was about not the end of the clown, but rather the evolution of the clown. Did the speaker take advantage of body language and vocal variety? Absolutely. By performing that segment, Rick used bold gestures, he danced, he sang. He's a wonderful, illustrious, alacritous speaker. What do I feel like he could have done differently to improve the speech? I have this funny idea that somewhere Rick has like a clown nose or some other things potentially in his closet. And I think maybe that could have been pulled or brought out here for the speech. But what I liked about it was that this speech took me through several emotional states. Started off with the first segment, fear of the clown, kind of brought me in. Then he talked about the Golden Age, the clown, this wonderful time, the Howdy Doody show and other clowns, Clarabelle, Bozo. And then finally, he talked about this early kind of freak show history of the circus, and then how the circus itself found redemption or found evolution to a better, higher place. I think that was a very effective speech. Thank you, Rick. Always a pleasure.
And that concludes our evaluation section. Let's transfer over to our table topics. Tonight, Deward is our table topics table topics master. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. General Evaluator. One of the wonderful things about Toastmasters is the alacrity with which evaluations are given. Subject for this evening's table topics is happiness. You can warm someone with a smile, and another can just as easily remove it. Happiness can be extinguished as quickly as it comes into being. How can it be sustained? We can certainly add value to people's lives, but what can we do to help them steadily increase happiness, which can be so fleeting? I have some quotes to give us an idea of what West have to say about happiness versus, say, someone in the East, the Far East might say about happiness. Happiness is weak. Georges Bataille, who influenced another French philosopher, Michel Foucault. Happiness does not exist, and for man, it exists still less. And then, the Eastern perspective, expansion of happiness is the purpose of existence. Beautiful. Who would like to volunteer to answer the first question? Da, 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 da. Thank you, William Burns. What practice would you make someone aware of to increase their happiness?
Mr. Table Topics Master, audience, wonderful audience, viewers at home. Happiness is something I think we all aspire to. I think we all try to expand, try to improve it. For me, I'm going to suggest what would probably be the best thing to improve my happiness, and in so doing, I will be able to expand yours. And that is the practice of mindfulness, of being aware of my presence and what I'm doing at a particular moment, and to appreciate that experience. We don't have a lot of control. I mean, there's times, I can think about the lunch I had today, and honestly, I was kind of rushing around. I didn't really put the time and attention into actually sitting down. Even though I took the time and attention to actually drive to the beautiful area behind where I can't remember where it is now, by the trail, by the hiking trail. Waterworks, thank you. Beautiful. But I'm there, stuffing food in my face when really I should be thinking about the experience. So for me, it's just embracing that sense of not thinking about the past and about all the things I messed up, or about the future and kind of worrying about how I'm going to mess up in the future. It's taking Orlando's principles and defeating pessimism and just really embracing that I really have this gift right now, and look around and see, like even tonight, I have all these wonderful people around me. That's it.
Thank you, William. That was an excellent response. Who would like to volunteer to answer the second question? Thank you, Jean. We agreed at the same moment.
Guests are invited too.
You're welcome. What book would you share with a friend if you thought it would bring them happiness?
Thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master, fellow members and viewers at home. I am a reader. But that question is actually more layered than you might think, because I would really have to look at the person that I was talking to and select in my mind what I think would make them happy. Not everybody's going to be happy with the books that I would recommend. For example, I just finished a book by James Elroy called The Cold 6000, and it was recommended to me by a friend who really gives me good recommendations. It's noir, it's black. It's about this whole conspiracy, fictionalized book on the Kennedy assassination, the Martin Luther King assassination, and the our Robert Kennedy assassination. And it's an incredible book, but it's not for everybody. If the jacket hadn't said, this is a masterpiece of American fiction, I probably, after about 50 pages, would have given up because the prose is very choppy. And I actually got back to my friend and I said, I almost put that book down until it kicked in. And then I couldn't put it down. And I was up, and I was up. So not all books fit everybody. If I were gonna recommend a book to Lewis, I know a little bit of where his head is, but I might have to talk to him a little bit about what kinds of things he likes, and then see what I might have in my repertoire to recommend to him, or to Orlando. Orlando may like something completely different, probably does. Book recommendations are a little tricky, and usually if you recommend a bad book, a book that doesn't bring happiness to someone, you're probably not going to get asked again. So I really try to get good book recommendations. But I love books. I love books, and they do bring me a lot of happiness.
Thank you, Jean Symington Craig. Another well thought out response. That was excellent. I love that you used the word noir. And I have one more. What movie would you suggest a loved one watch to awaken happiness in them? Would our guests like to answer the question?
No pressure.
Repeat the question.
Yes.
Yeah, no, and no pressure,
Okay.
but you can still come up.
What movie would you suggest a loved one watch to awaken happiness in them?
Okay.
Movie recommendations I think are tricky because I actually watch a lot of movies with one of my good friends. But I think what people look for in movies are really different because she really loves to watch twisted romance stories where someone always dies in the end. And that always makes me really sad because I'm a very empathetic person, and so I just get really sad for the people in the stories, and I'm like, why did you make me watch that movie? But for myself, like, I like to watch something that's kind of like fluff. Like, I feel like I get enough emotional drama in the day that I just want to like watch something that makes me feel happy. So I think I'd have to know what that person was maybe missing in their life. Like, do you like drama? Do you need more of it? Or do you just want something to relax? And so I think it depends on the person and what their personality is and what their preferences are. Let's go.
Yeah, the green light, the green light.
Toastmasters guests and viewers at home, that concludes Table Topics for this evening.
So actually, Deward asked.
Oh, you asked, I'm sorry.
Do the vote.
You're the vote.
So
You're
ask the timer who qualified.
Oh, okay. Mr. Timer, who qualified? Timer.
All three speakers qualified. Want me to name them?
Yes.
Yes,
Will
please.
Burns, Jean Symington Craig, and Pia.
Excellent.
And then this council vote.
And now please vote for who you thought was the best table topic speaker. And now I'm going to call up Jyoti Raj, the table topic evaluator for the evening.
fellow Toastmasters guests, and viewers at home. It was a very good topic. You choose a very good topic, happiness, that we always want. And I'll start with Will Bones. You utilize the time, the 30 seconds, and you have that thought before you speak. And I saw you have a very good gestures and your hand movements, like me and you, and I saw you doing this side and this side. You have a very, very, very good body gestures and the movement, and very enthusiastic. I mean, seems really happy talking about happiness. And you talked about mindfulness, and you gave such a descriptive description about mindfulness and how to be present in the present moment and how to enjoy what is around you rather than thinking about your past or worrying about your future which is not yet here. So that was a very, very good, table topics I say. But the only suggestion is, I understood what mindfulness is because I was aware of what mindfulness is. If you had given a little bit of what exactly mindfulness, that would be a very good speech. So Jean Symington Craig, so she started with a very, saying that I am a reader. And that we all pulled the attention of us, okay, what's he gonna say about the book as he's a good reader? So that was a very good thing to do, that you were telling about yourself, what you are before telling what you're gonna say. And you had a very good gestures as usual, so you said. And what I liked most is you did a very good job of, it's not, I don't say it's a segue, but you said that it's not possible to, it's weird to give one book to everybody, and that was a really interesting answer, than rather saying that this book I read and this is the things you must. Yeah, that was a very good thing. The only suggestion was use a little bit of stage, otherwise you were fantastic. Pia, so you also did the same thing as Jean did, so you what I understood is you said that the same thing can bring happiness to somebody, and the same thing can bring sadness to somebody. So you can't say that if you don't have a pill of happiness, so you can give somebody. So I understood that your friend can be happy by entertained by seeing the same movie. You watch the same movie and you are sad because of the tragedy they had that in the last days. The only suggestion I have is when you are standing in front of the audience, and I saw your leg crossed. So if you can just move a bit and use the stage, that would be fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jyoti, for that excellent table topics evaluation of the table topic speakers tonight. And lastly, we're moving into the last section of our meeting now. So prepare for let's actually check for the votes.
So ask the timer.
Timer? Emery? Did everybody qualify?
No, you didn't vote. Can't vote yet because he just went.
Okay, you're talking about the evaluator. Okay.
So, for the evaluations, Jyoti and
Jyoti qualified.
Lewis and Will.
Lewis and Will were not alacritous.
They weren't. They didn't qualify?
They did not qualify.
Okay, all right. So we don't have to vote tonight because Jyoti takes the gauntlet without having the showdown. That's good. So we'll move on to the next section of our meeting, which is the reports. We are coming to a close here in some way. Could I get a report from Emery, the timer tonight, please?
Orlando had a time of 7 minutes 30 seconds. Rick Starr's time was 7 minutes 6 seconds. Lewis's evaluation was 3 minutes 45 seconds. Will Burns was 3 minutes 41 seconds. And Joe Teves was 3 minutes and 4 seconds.
All Okay. Thank you. Emery?
Table topics.
Oh, table
Oh,
topics,
yeah.
back of the sheet. Will Burns, 149, Jean Symington Craig, 214, Tia, 115.
Alright, next up we've got our grammarian, which is Tabitha. Who is Tabitha? Could you give us a report, Tabitha, please?
So, the people who chose or used the word of the day were Jean, Ryan, Will, Deward, and Emery made
Late one.
an effort, but it wasn't quite there. But it might work, but
Okay.
not necessarily for that use of it.
Yeah, okay.
So, Orlando, thank you for your speech. I really appreciated when you said, why not? When you were encouraging us to try things. Why not? But why not, you said, and just try it. I thought in the way, the tone that you used and the fact that they were enthusiastic and just short, it made it a powerful statement to use in that way. I did notice that there were a couple sentences with some grammatical errors. One being when you said, why we are pessimistic, instead of saying, why are we pessimistic? And then similarly, looking for both sides when you're referencing crossing the street would be like looking both ways, maybe you could say. I also really liked when you said we put the man on the moon. It was another way of using short, very powerful sentences, and I liked that a lot. And Rick, what a great speech, so entertaining. I picked up on some of your phrases that I just really appreciated. The disappearance of the home of all the clowns. You were referencing the circus. I thought that was really nice. And that you gave us a new word, coulrophobia. We know people are afraid of clowns, but I had never heard of the words, what the phobia was called before. Media, you use the word transformed. I really like the use of that word. I don't think it gets used enough. People usually use the word change, but it has a really nice distinction. Media transformed clowns in a certain way. And then the last thing I'll comment on was, I really liked when you built on Barnum, and you were saying, you know, you've heard of Barnum, the Ringling Circus, the greatest show on earth. It really built up to something really nice as you elaborated that way. Okay, William, when you evaluated Rick, you keenly distinguished that he was speaking about the evolution of the clown. He never said that, but that was a really nice way to put it and a really great word to use. It's a great observation. On the table topics, there were some disjointed sentences, like when you were trying to remember a certain place behind the trail, waterworks, thank you. So, you know, there's that. You were thinking in the moment, so that's understandable. But I really liked how you referenced Orlando's speech when you said defeating pessimism. So that was a nice reference and usage. Am I going too long? I just have a couple
He's not,
more.
I don't think he's timing you, but
It's supposed to be a 2-minute.
Oh, am I? Okay.
I haven't timed you, I'm sorry.
You can start now. Jean, I really liked it when you said I almost put that book down till it kicked in, and then you just couldn't put it down. So just until it kicked in was a nice, got us in the moment with you. Same thing with Pia, when you said that the certain movies make you sad when people die at the end because you have so much empathy. And then we all giggled when you said, why did you make me watch that? We were there with you in that moment. And then the only last thing I would suggest is, GOT, you said a couple different times, you have a very good gestures, and you can just leave out the word A and say have very good gestures. Thank you, that's it.
Good.
Lastly, before we get a joke, I know everyone's anxious to laugh. We haven't had much fun tonight. No, I'm kidding. We had a lot of fun. But let's hear from the awe counter. Oh, you are the awe counter. Okay, you're double duty. Let's hear from the awe counter. Double duty.
So yes, now for the negative report. Tabitha, an ah, 5 ums, a you know, a so, an and. Jean, 1 and. Lewis, an 2 ands. Orlando, 3 uhs, 5 ums, a you know, a so, an and. 2 false starts, and 8 uses of one that's unique to you. It's somewhere between and and it's a second language issue, I believe.
I don't think so, but.
But you use it heavily.
Okay.
Will, an a you know, so, 2 so's, an and. Your special word is well. Rick, an a so, an and, a repeat, a false start. Ryan, 2 uhs, an a so, an and. Doer, you use say. Our guest, is it Kia or Tia?
Pia.
Like
Pia.
Pia.
Oh, I apologize.
Pia.
Pia. 1 And Jyoti, 7 uhs, a so, 2 ands. That's it. That's my report.
We've got next on the schedule, before we hear some remarks about the meeting, we can get a joke from Art. So please welcome Art.
So our theme tonight was positive thinking. The premise of the Jim Carrey movie, Yes Man, is that just deciding to say yes in life can transform your life. Saying yes to everything. It has its limits. The logician is attending the birth of his first child. He's in the delivery room. The obstetrician hands him the new baby. And the wife looks up and says, well, what do we have, a boy or a girl? And he says, yes. Okay. There's more. Just have to. We've also heard about pessimists and optimists. And there's a third way. The pessimist views the glass to be half empty. The optimist views the glass half full. The engineer says the glass was constructed twice too big.
All right, the section of the meeting where I get to evaluate the evaluators. This is kind of a new thing for me. I've never had to go this deep into the evaluation stage before. So I will be looking at the 2 evaluators who evaluated the prepared speeches as well as the tabletop evaluator. And just remarking on what they could improve and what they did well on. So my first evaluation will be of Lewis, who had to evaluate, Rick. Orlando, I'm sorry. And Lewis, you had a lot of things which I've been aware of as an evaluator. You have to use the manual, because if you're just talking about whatever you think you enjoyed about the speech, or just kind of going on tangents, we're not going to benefit as much. So you talked about the manual and how from the manual, right? So Lewis also, you're a very excellent speaker. You've been evaluating many times, so I can't really come up with a lot of criticism, but one thing what I did notice is that you were talking to Orlando directly pretty much the whole time. And I saw you spending a lot of time talking to him, so maybe just addressing us and being like, well, Orlando did this, and this is some way, you talked about pessimism, you talked about the glass being in front of the table, and it was still there at the end. Just things that you could have done, maybe talking to us more as opposed to just him. And I guess you also used some content from his speech, using pessimism and optimism, referencing his speech. So I like that. I like how you referenced his speech. And Will, facts and figures. You talked about Rick's use of facts and figures, but not not in a way that was too critical. You just said, or no, that was actually the positive thing. Facts and figures were included, but they weren't kind of overly scientific. You weren't telling us rocket science. It's pretty. I liked how you incorporated that into the speech, and you talked about it being an emotional appeal, which was, I agree with. I felt like I was listening to kind of a story, the clowns, the history of clowns, which I knew nothing about, honestly. I've never seen a clown in my life. So I liked the speech as well. It kind of appealed to me on an emotional level. And using Will, you seem really confident up here, as you always are, which is good. And the use of the manual as well. You asked the questions out of the manual pretty directly, which I like how Will did that. And Jyoti, you were the Table Talks evaluator tonight, and there you are. What you did, I think you were the most gesturous of everybody. If that's a word. I think your gestures are extremely, engaging to the audience, and you're just very engaging and using your hands and kind of naturally walking around stage. You're not behind the podium a lot. You're very good gestures. And just an observation more than like a criticism or whatever, you talked about the three speakers. So sometimes in Toastmasters, I guess we just have a general table talks evaluator where someone's just doing their table talks evaluation just as a general thing, without going into specific detail. But you went into the three speakers, and yeah. So you also talked about the happiness, which was the theme of the night, and I think it was a great meeting and good evaluations. So that's my evaluation for the evaluators. Thank you. Jean, please, Toastmaster of the night, please come up and give your comments about this meeting.
Actually, I just want to comment, since that was Ryan Frana Miller's first attempt at general evaluator, that general evaluating, the way we do it in this club, is pretty abstract. You see, he's not evaluating speeches. That's more a direct evaluation on the raw data. He's evaluating evaluators. It's just one step back. So it's a different critique, a different mindset. And I think he did a good job. We were looking for suggestions, because evaluation is so critical to a successful club and improving our speeches. We want evaluators to also get evaluated so that we improve our skills in evaluation. Toastmasters International does not, in their meeting format, have a position called Table Topics Evaluator. That's number one that we've added. And then secondly, having the general evaluator really focus on evaluators specifically. Not just did the meeting start on time, was everybody organized like that, but really focusing in on evaluation. So when you do it, you'll learn. You're not critiquing, you're not evaluating a speech, you're evaluating the evaluator of that speech. And it's a good exercise. Didn't you feel the neurons
Things were turning.
working?
Yeah.
That's right, that's right. One point that he made is that, as the Toastmaster here, the president, is that we have different styles of evaluation. Sometimes we use third person, where we're talking, he was suggesting that Lewis could be talking about, say, Orlando in the third person. Orlando did this, Orlando did that, and talking to the group. And Lewis did that for a certain part of his evaluation, and then he also said you, and he honed in on Orlando. So they're mixes people will do. We generally tend to lean not on just you the whole time, because it does tend to be a bit of a funnel, but we're open to that. Secondly, the table topics evaluation, there's some mixed feelings. I personally like individual criticism because my table topics is different from Will's table topics, and I don't particularly find it as useful to be lumped in as a group, unless it's something really general. But for me specifically to grow, I like having that. So I'm glad you brought that out.
Sure.
Always look for something to help with improvement. No matter how good somebody is, Lewis has done a lot of evaluation. Lewis loves evaluation. He would have us do double the amount of evaluation. He would like to increase that number because it's so important, not just for the speaker, but for the evaluators too. It's a good muscle workout. But even he can learn from someone telling him something. And again, evaluation is somebody's opinion, doesn't have to be set in stone, but it's something that is useful for all of us, so it's a really good job. All right, with all of that said, I have some meeting awards, and yes, thank you. We have some awards this year. Wait, I have two of the same one. Do I have a table topics evaluation, table topics ballot?
I gave it to you. No?
No.
Okay. I stand corrected. Here's it. Nope, that's not it.
Well, just write the result on something. Be good.
Always,
Is that it?
That's it.
Okay.
We can always improve. We can always improve.
All right. See? You can always improve in Toastmasters. Yes, that's good. All right, well, first let's do our best speaker. I mean, well, let's just go for it. Drum roll, please. Rick, you're on. Okay. And well. Best table topics. Me. Thank you. Seriously, if you need a good book, let me know. I can find it for you. And then our evaluators, I am totally lost on these things. I have a blank best evaluator. What?
There was no vote because
Oh,
two of us,
right.
two of the three went over.
Oh, okay.
So,
Spend too much time evaluating.
So it's just Jyoti Raj
Yes.
by default.
Well,
well, it wasn't by
but
default, by
he
his-
stayed in time, so he
Well,
earned it.
that's what, yeah, no, it's, well, the others, You know, yeah.
So if you want to
So
dive.
yeah, so we are very, you know, it's not just what you say, can you say it in the time that you're allowed? So let's please. All right, very good. And then we also have a couple of project completions. We have a project number 4 for Orlando. And then we have a research your topic and final project. Okay, very good. Just a little bit of club business. November is always a big month for the club because we're coming down the home stretch of the Distinguished Club Program. We will have a speech on the Distinguished Club Program in February, actually. But just to say that Toastmasters International, every club has 10 goals that they try to complete. And we, in our competitiveness and I want to say alacritous enthusiasm, something like that, but we are trying to be first in the district, which is Iowa and a little bit of Nebraska and a little bit of Illinois, to get all 10 of them. Because there's a special award in the district for that. It's called First to 10. This, it's not a podium. Podiums are the ones that go down to your feet, which is where the podium comes from. But this is a lectern. And all these, if you step up here sometime, because this is a very significant award that we have. You can read all these little plaques and see how many times we have been first out of 100 clubs, approximately 100 clubs in the district in getting all 10 of our goals. We are shooting for that again this year, and that means we have some competent communicators we are tracking. So everything that you do as a club member is for your benefit, and it's also helping the club. And we'll be talking more about that in February, but we've been building on this through this entire year, and now we're coming down to the close. So we want to have just about everything done by December 1st, and some of you know that you're on the track. We have people who have completed, so when you complete things, that helps fill in those goals. But take a look sometime and see, because this is not ours. This is the district's, and it goes to the club that comes in first. And you'll see how many times we were in here golden speakers. Just lots and lots and lots of times.
The yellow highlights are indicate what?
Well, actually, the little yellow dots, we, without going into it really, we thought we had it really locked forever. So we put, just for presentation's sake, I say we, I didn't do it, but it was done, little yellow dots. So when you, as a Golden Speakers member, looked up here, you could see how many times your club appeared on this illustrious lectern. Now, we lost it. And if we have a tie, we have to share it, which we don't really like doing. But we will. And this last year, we shared it with Hilltop Toastmasters, which is a minimum security prison in Illinois that has incredible volunteers that just produce. So your officers have suitcases packed, ready to go to officer training, the first one, which will be in December, because that'll be our final goal that we have to get to. And so it may be a Tuesday, we don't know. We have to go to the first one. If we're all not here one night, that'll be why, because we're driving somewhere. Okay. But at any rate, so Rick doing his competent communicator manual and completing that is one of the key goals that we needed to have done to make sure our ducks are all lined up in a row for our goals. So we really thank Rick, and those of you that are working on projects, you know, it matters, and we, you know, so we all pull together as a club to get these things done. I mentioned that our special event is going to be next February the 2nd. So we'll talk about that more later. Your officers met, we have a couple of ideas that we're contemplating, but we're not going to talk about it quite yet. I just want to close. Is there any business here? Yes, Dan?
Has anybody seen the stopwatch? It didn't end up with the timing light.
Okay. On the lookout for stopwatches, and all right, good. Again, we thank Dan, who's the cameraman. You know, I've been talking about clapping, how important it is to clap loud and enthusiastically. Well, Dan was telling me that this makes his filtering job a little harder because there's this explosive noise, and then, but I said, you know, you're smart, you'll work it out. Because clapping is essential in a Toastmasters meeting. Just want to say, I heard a very interesting interview today on NPR. It really brings home the importance of what we do here in Toastmasters. It was a woman who is a top organizer, director of the LGBT community in Iowa, and a man who is the head of the, something like, you know, protecting the family, a very conservative kind of Christian group. And these two individuals have made it a point to get together fairly regularly for coffee and just communicate. And the interview was an interview that was done in front of a live audience. So they talked about that process and what they found out about each other, and they had questions from the audience, people asking about this whole process. And the reason why it was just really amazing is that you look at what's going on in the country and this inability to communicate and disagree without being disagreeable. And that was a point that they made, and that we cannot leave ourselves with, I will only talk to people who absolutely agree with me, and I will demonize and penalize anyone who thinks differently from me, and I will not listen to anything and say, as communication experts here, that is something that we really have to steer away from. And I think we are providing that. I'm going to challenge everyone to find somewhere in the next week, have a conversation with someone about something that you don't agree on, and see how you can have a conversation, disagree without being disagreeable, respectful, knowing that you'll never, probably not change that person. That's not the goal, and that's what these two individuals said. They weren't thinking, I'm going to change these people over one to the other like that. It's just being able to have the dialogue and realizing where is their common ground. So that is a skill as a communicator, is even if we disagree, where is the common ground? Where can we find it? And that's a skill in communication. Louis, as a communication expert, wouldn't you say that's a very important skill to develop?
Absolutely. You lose credibility by putting somebody down to make your point.
Yes, yes, and it's it's these organs as well as this organ that's going, which again is also part of communication and also part of Toastmasters and what we were. So what we do, people, is really impactful. Now on that, I'm going to call this meeting adjourned, and we'll see you next week.